I say, my brothers and sisters, I'm back with another vlog. It's been a while, but I've been highly busy. So what I'm going to continue on with is the topic on my last vlog, which was purchasing power. But this time what I want to get into is breaking down purchasing power into two segments. What is purchasing and what is power? See, when you have a clearer definition of words and they take on more meaning than just mere words, sometimes that can help you move forward and have a better guidance in what you're doing, where you're going, who you are, your power, your lack thereof, and so forth and so on. So we're going to break it down simply and say, before we get into purchasing power, we're going to ask, like, what does it mean to purchase something? Or what is purchasing? So by a dictionary definition, which is simple, when you purchase something, you obtain something for money or by paying a price. Now that's the key you have to pay attention to. More than just money, you purchase things by paying a price. So to obtain at a cost, as of suffering or sacrifice. You follow me? So when you purchase something, you can obtain it at a cost, as suffering or sacrifice. So just to stick to those particular definitions, you gotta ask yourself, what are you purchasing? And I'm not saying what kind of shoes or sneakers you buying, what kind of outfits you buying, or anything to that nature. I'm talking of, what do you pay attention to? What do you do the most? Who do you spend the most time with? See how we, sometimes don't pay attention to words and their more integral meaning instead of their superficial meaning. So back to the point at hand. When you paying attention to lies, deceit, imagery, foolery, idiocy, when you paying attention to these things, this is what you're purchasing. This is what you're buying into. And the biggest one of all for me is the first one. I was always difficult with accepting lies and laying down at night knowing I done came across some truth or some experience that allowed me to see I was living a lie. And I'm not going to get into my personal experience right now. This is for you. So when you suffer from what you purchasing, you wonder why you spent time with people who left you frustrated, depressed, agitated, aggravated, and when you pay attention to things that are not going anywhere, superfluous, phenomena such as TV, listening to music that has no substance or no real melodic influence, is just a lot of noise and screaming and derogatory statements being made. And for it to be more effective, understand that I was a part of a lot of what I'm speaking about. But the whole point and what's really important is growth. And what you might have spent your money on as a child, when you get older, you try to invest better and more intelligently and make more wise decisions with what you're spending your money and your time and your emotions and your thoughts on. So let's move further. When you buying into cons, rhetoric, flattery, and that's another big one because we love our ego stroke. So we'll spend a whole amount of time on getting our ego stroked around people who know how to stroke the ego for what they want. And that's what you have to pay attention to. When you purchase something from someone, they want something from you. Same as when you spend your money. You spend your money with someone, they want your money. You want their product. So now when the product is giving, your heart, mind, body, and soul to something that has no substance, an abyss meaning you'll never come to an end of wasting your time, wasting your money, wasting your energy on things that are not going to bring you any fruit. So the next phenomenon we're going to move on to, and I'm going to keep this short and brief because I don't want to hold anyone hostage, is power. Now, in a system of white supremacy racism, non-whites do not have any power. And examples of this is you could have the best job in the world. You could be a Bill Cosby, perfect example. This man then did so much in his accomplishments with his life. You know, he achieved benchmarks many of us may never see in our lives. And what's going on with him now? He's being dragged all through the media and being, you know, character assassinated. And does anyone ask why? Whatever the media or, you know, the people who practice white supremacy give us, we eat it up. We believe it, take it to the bank, might even kill you for it. So this is what we do with our power, which is only individual. Because individual and another individual brings collectiveness. But since we don't understand that, we individually and collectively give up our power at will. Consciously, sometimes we know, as myself, sometimes it's like, you know what, you know, leave them be. Whatever it is, leave them be. Because I don't want to spend my time and my energy and my thoughts and my emotions on something that's going to agitate me, aggravate me, you know, cause me to want to react instead of act, which we should do. We should not react, we should act. So this power that we have, which is the power to choose, the power of choice, that's the only thing that it can't really be taken from you, but it could be manipulated. And we get manipulated with so many messages on a daily basis. It's hard not to make choices, especially if you're an American. You was raised here in America, you know, you American. You buy into the customs, the values, the norms, which are all a capitalist society. And what does a capitalist society, you know, function as? A profit. And mostly off of the backs of the proletariat, the poor, the working, the hard workers, not the big corporations with the big ideas on how to maintain an astronomical amount of money for no purpose whatsoever but greed. So when we give up our power, you know, we give it up in ways such as watching TV, you know, social network, forget about it. You spend hours upon hours on a social network that when you finish with that social network, how much knowledge did you really gain? How much perspective? Did you come up with a new aim, a new idea, a new thought? Nah. You basically just reflecting off other people's images, living other people's lives, paying attention to other people's lives, what other people's doing, so forth and so on. So, as I said, I'm going to make it short and sweet. Your purchasing power is what you spend your time on, and what you spend your energy on, and what you spend your emotional, your consciousness, you know, your vision, whatever you give all of these to, that's what you're going to get back. So if you're giving all of your time and attention to nothing, that's what you're going to get back. Nothing. So in closing, I'm going to just say, you know, purchasing power is bigger than just spending money. And if we realize that as a people, non-whites, I'm talking non-whites, because white supremacy racism could care less if you're Dominican, if you're Puerto Rican, you know, if you claim you're Spaniard, if you're white, if you look white rather, and even if you're white. This is what's tricky about white supremacy racism that people don't understand. Oh, you know, all whites ain't bad and I have white friends. No one's saying whites are bad. People who practice white supremacy racism is more than just bad. It's unjust. You know, it's foul. It's a crime. That's the biggest crime of all. You know, when you subjugate a people, you know, for no other reason but you feel you superior than them with no facts, no basis, no evidence, no history of this. You know, this is what white supremacy racism is. This ain't a white person, oh, I don't like blacks. Even though, you know, they could be racist, you know, even if they don't have power and money. But being white, you could still be racist because you could fit into that, you know, what they call the norm of white supremacy. So, you know, in closing, as I said, under the system of white supremacy racism, if you non-white and your power, your purchasing power ain't spent on every single thought, every single action, every single idea, aim, focus, and goal is to eliminate white supremacy racism. If you're not spending your time on that, your attention on that, your heart and soul on that, you have no power, because you buying into the status quo. You just trying to ride along the wave that, you know, eventually is going to be so high and crash so hard, you're not going to survive it. So personally, my consciousness and my seeking and staying into books and, you know, watching scholars and, you know, archaeologists and scientists and psychologists and sociologists and, you know, anthropologists, spending all my time on these things, you know, has raised my consciousness to a point where I can't help but see. I can't help but see what this system is and how it functions globally. It's not just in America. So pay attention to what you purchasing, my brothers and sisters. Hotep.